What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about stellar lumens today, XLM. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, you guys. Okay, so here we are talking about stellar lumens at 43 cents on a weekly basis. Looking at the RSI, you're in very bullish posturing. I think anytime you bounce off of the 60, it provides a very powerful kind of indication that you could either move up or rejecting wise could move down as well, right? So last time, and this might be a good example even, here you had a relative rejection off of your 60 area. You didn't reject the 60 exactly, but you did reject that area. And when you corrected all the way down to the bottom of this range, right? You just found support on this 60 area. I would assume that when you find support on this, not only would it return you to the top of this range, but likely propel you higher and into your next phase of this move as a whole, right? If and when you do break above this high, you're going to initiate your measure move, your breakout phase of this bull flag, right? This is your flagpole, and then this consolidation here, this is your bull flag, right? You can draw it, it's like a flag, and then a pole, it's a bull flag. You draw the pole from a low to a high, you take this pole, you put it at the base of your flag, that's how you get the measure move. The measure move itself would take you to about $2.23 when you break above this high, when your 60 in the RSI bounces and you get into the overbought zone, when you get to the upper ends of this range and break through it. You are igniting this next move. You are beginning the next move. You're literally on your path to $2.20 or thereabouts, probably by the end of February. If not by the end of February, sometime in the middle of March is kind of what my expectations are. I've been very, very confident in assuming that sometime between the 15th to the 20th of February would be when we top off. And I do think we'll find turbulence in that week. But today I've been looking at a lot of things that suggest we really could see this next move top off sometime in March. It just depends, right? It could be the end of February. It could be the middle of March. Whatever, it's going to happen. We're going to get to these prices eventually, but just don't be discouraged if we're looking like this, right? Middle of March, which is like kind of the time frame at the longest that I would expect. If we're looking like this, and it's the end of February, and we're still not to this target, well, we can still keep growing until March and hit that target. You know what I mean? So we're not in jeopardy if we're not there. But I do suspect that this next move, nonetheless, will be something similar of an overall height, from low to high of what brought us into this consolidation phase. I expect when we break out of this, it'll be similar to this move here. I just also expect that it won't take the same amount of time. It'll be similar in height, but it will be longer in time. So whenever we do break out, instead of it being 3 weeks that it takes for us to find our high, maybe it takes 6 weeks. If we were to take 6 weeks from this current date, which 4 days, 19 hours, maybe we break out this week, maybe it's next week, but 6 weeks from here would actually put us in the beginning of March. 7 weeks could put us in the middle of March, right around there, right? And as we continue to progress in this consolidation phase without breaking out, the odds of us topping off sometime in March actually goes up, and the odds of us topping off in February, I would say, goes down. Right now, in my opinion, the odds are more in the side that we top off in February, but timing's the hardest thing to get, man. No, it's really hard to get timing. It's not hard to guess price action, right? XLM will go to new all-time highs. I could have guessed that years ago, but when? That's the hardest part, man. That really is the hardest part. If you guys know anybody who's good with TA and timing, you got a special something right there, man, for sure. High to low, keep it a secret because that stuff is valuable. High to low here, overall range, 886. I'm just kidding. Don't keep it a secret. Share it in the comments, please. Please do. High to low. I want to know. I want the secrets. High to low here, 886 down to the 69. Looks like whenever you do break above this 886, the next target level, just based off the fibs, based off of how we do this here, taking everything else out of context, just looking at the fibs, the next target after breaking above here would be this yellow line, which is all the way at about $2.43. Now the target that we just had, the measure move, was about 220. So 220, 243, 10% difference, not a big deal. That gives us a range, and I like a range more than I like a specific price anyways, because how dumb do you have to be? And I don't like to say dumb. How silly do you have to be to think that you can predict something so fine that if you just put a line there, it's going to go there undeniably. That's it, perfect, boom. No, it's rarely like that. You're rarely that good, and if you ever are, it's just luck. You got to identify some kind of range. So the fact that we got a 220 target and a 243 target, that's a nice range. That's a nice kind of realm of expectations, I think. If we take this relative high here, our last cycle's high, to the bear cycle low, You can see here, I'm going to delete this fib as well. We are at the 886 as well, but instead of bouncing off of the 6.9 level, here we're bouncing off the golden ratio, the 618, the golden ratio right there. When we bounce off this and we go to the 886, likely the next target we would see, the minimum target that we would see, would be $1.54. But I have to say, generally speaking, I'm just speaking out loud here. I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass. I'm not trying to get you excited for something that won't happen. I personally don't think this will happen, but I'm just speaking out loud. This is what I generally do see happen in the fibs, is that when you tear through your golden ratio here, your 61869, which you did on your first attempt, you just tore right through it like that, and then you come back to find support on it. Oftentimes, it's not always, I would say it's more than half of the time, maybe 50 to 70% of the time, probably closer to 70% of the time. In this situation, you do go all the way up directly to your 1618, right? You're basically disrespecting the golden ratio here, and then you respect it as support. Your next stop isn't until the golden ratio. Okay. Now, I personally don't expect that XLM by the end of this move, which could happen, sometime at the end of February, end of March. I don't expect that you're above $3. I don't expect you're at 357, but just going off of this look on the fibs here, out of everything I know, if I didn't know this chart, if I didn't know anything about this crypto at all, if I didn't know anything about the markets, I was just looking at this for what it is, I would have a pretty strong inclination that not only would you not stop here, but that you would likely stop here. Right, your true minimum would always be the 1272, but with how bullish you are here, I don't think it is a true minimum. I think your true minimum should be this 217, which, hey, that agrees with a lot of things we've seen. And then 357, we haven't really seen anything other than this fib that suggests that. But again, what you're doing here, it's very bullish, and I wouldn't suspect that this next move is stronger than your last move, but you never know, man. We're dealing with things that are very wild, right? We're going to be breaking out of a multi-cycle consolidation phase on this next move up. Undeniably, we will be. Anything above a dollar, above 93 cents, and we're breaking out. And the minimum target, technically, is $1.54. And there's a bunch of things suggesting that the minimum target should really be above $2. So it's going to be crazy, right? We're breaking out of a multi-cycle consolidation phase. It really is going to be crazy. I want to end the video soon, and I want to do something before we end the video. I want to do something that I did with XRP in my most recent video. We're going to do it for XLM too. I just want to look at some other stuff. The 4-hour looks bullish as hell, guys. Look at that, right? Higher lows on higher lows right here on the RSI, your indicator. I would guess that you're at a point where you probably bounce and you go to the upper limits of this kind of trend that you're in the RSI. So that would mean that you probably bounce from here. Yes, any price, anytime you see XLM, before we get into this last part of the video, I just want to end it with this, end this segment. High to low here. Double bottom off your low, by the way. High to low. Oh, and you're looking so constructive on your fibs, bro. It looks really good. Next target when you move up is going to be 54.7 to 58.7 cents. When you break above 50, and this is short-term targets, right? I'm on the 4-hour basis. I'm talking about in days. You'll be up there. By the end of this week, you'll likely be up there. When you break above 58.7 cents, whenever it is, today, tomorrow, next week, whenever it is, when you break above 58.7 cents, that's when it's time to get excited for these prices that are above $1, above $2, and beyond, right? So just getting that out of the way. Now what I want to do is I want to compare Stellar Lumens. This next part of the video, we're going to compare Stellar Lumens to the price of Bitcoin, so Stellar versus BTC, and I'm going to assume roughly, we're not going to do a lot of in-depth analysis, but I'm going to give you my most genuine expectation for what the minimum would be that XLM versus BTC would be. Then we will compute that reading versus US dollars to try and assume what Stellar Lumens could see at the height of the cycle in proportion to Bitcoin. Does that make sense? It might not make sense. I'm using the right words. I just don't know if I'm making sense because there's just so many of them. Let's just do it and make sense out of it this way, right? We're going to compare Stellar Lumens to BTC. I suspect that by the end of this cycle, look at that. Oh, it's USD. Why? Oh, I was on Binance. My bad. My bad. I saw Binance. BTC. That's what we want. There we go. Binance. Yes. I'm like, that looked a lot like the USD chart. That's wild, man. That's crazy. So looking at the chart, looking at the all-time history, I don't know about you guys, but it seems to me as though we have done somewhat of a double bottom. Double bottom versus Bitcoin. So I don't know where it's going to go. I'm going to assume we don't see new all-time highs versus Bitcoin, but probably something that's above this level here, right? We probably see something that's around these highs, right? Around these lows, something like that. But let's not even do that. Let's not even assume you get as high as this level here. I want to do something that's more conservative than that. Let's assume you're here versus Bitcoin. I certainly assume, being that again, low here, the last time you bounced off of this, you went all the way up here. I would certainly assume that you break above this line by the end of the cycle for Bitcoin. So stellar lumens right now, you're worth about 0.000000409 Bitcoins. The minimum line here, which I don't even think is a fair minimum, I think you will exceed this. I truthfully think that you would go to 402, if not likely higher by the end of the cycle. But let's just say you go to 401. 401, 0.0001, 401. I expect that the price of Bitcoin by the end of the cycle, BTC, will be somewhere around its relative 2272. Its relative 2272, by the way, is right at $462,000. Now, every time Bitcoin's seen a cycle high at its 2272, it has gone just above it. I would think just above 462, 500,000, nice psychological level, being at a $500,000 mark. And I mean, if we go here, we just look at this just to validate, right? High to low here in this cycle went just above the 2272 right there. You go to the high to the low of this cycle, and again, just above the 2272 there, right? Last cycle we didn't, but I think last cycle was weak. And if you actually want to see an in-depth description as to why I think last cycle was weak, if we look at, where are we at? If you were to look at this video, major catalyst is happening now, that would be a kind of good description for that, but I digress. What I'm trying to say is I think that we will go to about 462 to 500,000, but let's say Bitcoin isn't even there. Let's say XLM versus Bitcoin tops off here at 401, and Bitcoin's not even at the expected prices I give it, which is 462. Let's say it's at 400,000 instead. So this times 400,000, right? Because that's how much XLM would be worth versus Bitcoin. This times 400,000, which I think, again, is a very doable minimum target, a very extremely doable minimum target. I would expect that's like criminally low. We would at least see something double this, if not more, equals, oops, I did times 4,000. I'm like, well, that's kind of concerning. 401 times 400,000. There we go. Okay, equals $4. Okay, so that would be a $4 price at an absolutely bare, most pessimistic minimum that we could expect for XLM would be $4. Okay, from a high to a low of the overall range, which I expect we will respect, $4 is the 141 first. So there's sense to be made out of that, right? But that's, again, assuming a relatively kind of bearish price versus BTC. Now, assuming something that's a little bit more acceptable, which would be about 402, if we double that, that'd be about $8. You know, that's not what I was expecting. I was expecting that we would see higher targets than that even. But $8 there, that's getting into the realm, again, $4 being pessimistic, $8 getting into something a little bit more realistic, okay? What's cool about this $8 target is that is about an 18x, 19x. That is the average growth. That's actually more than what I expect the average coin will do from here until the end of the cycle. And you've already outperformed the average coin with November's growth. So that's crazy that that's still on the table. That does give you the 1618. Again, we're just doubling this number, which would take you to about $2, or sorry, $8, which is the golden ratio, the 1618. But that's if XLM stops here at this level. Let's assume it goes higher. Again, I feel like we've been rather conservative, and this is only if Bitcoin's at 400,000. Again, if it's actually, if we're at 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros 2, which I think is a very doable target, and we're at 500,000, which I think Bitcoin will be at 500K by the end of this cycle. And that's a $10 price there, right? So the targets only go up higher. But if we were to see something at least this high, if not higher, that would be 403. 403, 1, 2, 3, 4, 03 times, let's just do 400K real quick. Oops, 400K. Is 12 point times 3. What would that be? 0.1234. I can't do it the other way. Times 500K. 15, so 12 to 15. You know, I have to admit, I was expecting that we would get some more bullish readings, but maybe this is more humbling for a purpose. Maybe this is telling us that stellar lumens won't, in fact, break $20, but instead will likely find resistance somewhere around $10 to $17, right? And that, based off this, the highest target that I could gather was about 15 bucks. So that's a little bit of a downer to me, because I was expecting that we'd see some higher prices, but that I'm trying to be as realistic as possible, right? The only way that we would see targets that are higher than $15 for stellar lumens is if it's above 403 versus Bitcoin by the end of the cycle, and that's possible. But then you run the possibility of seeing new all-time highs versus Bitcoin itself, which isn't something that I really considered. I didn't think that you would do, because you're just so far away from it right now, and it's been so long. I would think you really do stop probably somewhere between about 40289. So let's just say 403 to 4043, somewhere in that area. But even at 4043, I can't imagine this price getting above $20. So, you know, a little bit somber, but I'm not here to tell you guys what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what the charts tell me. The absolute given maximum target that I would have for XLM by the end of the cycle is probably about $17.50. And that's assuming for any errors that I could have, because the given maximum we had was really $15. But again, we don't know how high this will go. I could be wrong about various things, right? It just depends on how high Bitcoin goes too, let alone XLM versus Bitcoin. But I'm having a hard time seeing anything above that, let alone I think something around $8 to $10, $8 to 15 makes the most sense, but definitely something at 846 to 1750 is what I would expect by the end of the cycle. So that's that, right? The only way that you would see higher highs than that, the only way that stellar lumens would break above $20 is if this chart is more bullish than I'm giving it credit. And the only way that we would identify that is essentially if, like, I don't know, by April, if by April, May, we're up here, then certainly by the end of the cycle, we would be at new all-time highs. And if that's the case, we can revisit this, we can re-talk about it, and those $20 plus targets not only come on the table, but they become likelihoods. Not just possibilities, but they become likelihoods. And probably really it'd be like $40 or more, but we'll see. Anyways, guys, that's the video. The price right now, 43 cents. Likely by the end of this week, it'll be worth more than 50 cents. 50 to 58 cents is what I think. And then going into next week, if not by the end of this week, you would see it break out higher. And this move, regardless of how it performs for the rest of the cycle, which still I would expect it to outperform the average coin from here to the rest of the cycle. I definitely expect that out of XLM. But from here until the end of this move, which I think will be by the end of February, sometime in the middle of March at the latest, I expect you will be at about $2.20, if not higher, potentially as high as prices above $3, $3.50, something like that. But I think probably closer to $2.20. Being at 43 cents now, man, that's great growth in a very short amount of time. That's still outperforming every coin on the market by a large degree. So definitely worth getting into. Definitely a good price to buy now. Not financial advice, but if I was buying stellar lumens, I would buy here. I'd be comfortably buying here. It probably doesn't go any lower than this, and this actually might be at 43.12 cents. Might be the most ideal price of the day. By the time you see this video, it's going to be at higher prices, I bet. And if I'm wrong, and it happens to be lower, it's just a more ideal price, man. This thing isn't broken. It's not going to go to zero. If it's any lower, it's a higher low. It's a better opportunity to buy for the coming prices. So, but I don't suspect it goes lower or just too much lower at all from here. So take care. Bye-bye. I'll see you on the next one. Hit the like button. Bye-bye.